All right, guys. The tech thing is getting resolved. I got a new microphone over here. It took me a couple days to figure out how to use that. I got the big time camera coming. The tech guy's not here, so it slowed down my production. I do apologize for not getting content out to you sooner. I had a lot of plans, but I just recorded something last night. It was a total disaster as far as the audio. So now I think I've got it resolved. We'll see. Tech's always fun with Curtis and the tech. So I do apologize, but it will get resolved and I'll have better quality going forward. So today I want to cover a bunch of topics. I want to cover, I know the Tua going on IR is a big thing, but a lot of people have kind of covered it. There's not really much more to say about it. I think it's pretty clear on every level except, what are we going to do going forward? Some people are saying Bryce from Carolina. I think that's never going to happen as a pipe dream. It's just like something you can get clicks for. It's totally ridiculous. But people like that, but I am not going to cover that. I think it's ridiculous. But anyway, meeting old friends in Seattle, Jerome Baker, Connor Williams, Jordyn Brooks, and Aaron Brewer. I hear a lot of takes on what people are thinking about. Do we win or lose that trade-off? I'm just giving my opinion. I agree on most of it, but there's parts I strongly disagree. As usual, So I'll get into that. I think that's interesting. And then Skylar's taking over, and then maybe Huntley. To me, Huntley's a more experienced, a better version of Skylar. That kind of similar in a lot of ways. But you have to understand the quarterback is the most dependent position in the game of football. They get venerated. They handed MVP awards at Super Bowls, even though it's like somebody else probably should have got it if you really look at production and effect on the game. But the reality is they are the most dependent, going from the coordinator to the players around them. So I want to talk about framework. And speaking of framework, Scott and I are putting together a basket of analytics called Adjusted Passer Framework Rating. It's going to really help you understand what the quarterback, how they've been supported pre-throw. And it'll help you understand, certain quarterbacks, they're getting a lot of help. Others are getting middle of the road, and others are getting very little. And it puts context on what they're doing and how well they're doing it. Because if you're not getting a lot of help and your production is high, that says a lot. That speaks volumes. It's not an end-all be-all. But in the same token, if you're not getting a lot of production and you're not getting a lot of help, that does offer some indications too of what's really going on. So I'm going to talk about that. And then the last thing is Jaelen Phillips put an IG message up. I don't usually cover this stuff, but it hit home and it actually helped me in a lot of ways. I want to cover it at the tail end just to really talk about it, because so help you understand what he's saying and kind of myself, because I identify a lot with that. And I love this kid. I really do. So that's the whole soup for today. I'm going to have my film that I meant for today is going to be on the live Friday night. Speaking of, I got a live Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Come join me there. We're going to go over the final matchups of Seattle versus the Dolphins, breaking all my information during the week. And I'm going to put it up there so you can get it all in one spot. And then I'm going to add film to talk about some of the things I'm talking about. Also, Steve Malloy was the first guy to really make me feel like a part of this Dolphins community. In a lot of ways, I feel like I'm in the hinterland of the Dolphins. Nobody wants to deal with me. I don't know. Maybe I'm a jerk or something. I don't know. But Steve Malloy was the first guy to say, hey, would you like to come on my show? And I did, and it was very nice of him. I really appreciate him. He's ex-military. Man of character. He's been around since 1969 as a Dolphins fan. There's a ton of stuff to get from Steve Malloy, and I was on his Real Talk Rants, the Fins Talk Sports Network. So if you want to catch me doing my thing with him, stop by there, subscribe to his channel. You don't have to always agree. It's you can agree and disagree. You don't have to always be 100% with somebody. He has some kind of different takes than me on Tua. But I love the guy, and I'm fine with having disagreement as long as it's cordial. But a lot of stuff that I hear from you guys in the comments is things that he's been saying. So you can get a little soup, you can get a little disagreement, a little agreement, but what you're going to get is honesty. And that to me is the key for everything. It always starts with character, honesty, and integrity. Steve's got that. So check me out over there. Last, my man Tommy at Mafia Sports Report and the crew, we're doing AFC Shakedown this year, going over the AFC East. in totality, as far as all the games the previous week and this weekend is going to be on this channel here, Saturday at 4 p.m. So check that out. So that's the whole thing, guys. The likes, subscribes, comments, reviews, all that stuff is keeping me in business. It's going to determine whether I have a season next year or not. So if you're really interested in keeping me doing what I'm doing, help me out with that. Also, I'm doing a Twitter thing. Help me that, because that's important, what I'm seeing in this little gig here. Curtis at PH Fins News 1. Check me out there, and I put unique content out there as well, and try to interact with everybody like I do here with the comments. I'm behind on my comments a little bit, guys. There were so many of them, and I've been doing this tech thing, so I do apologize. Anyway, that's the whole deal. So starting off, meeting old friends. Jerome Baker, he was a huge asset for the Flores system that really needed a blitzing linebacker. He struggled in attack, stack, and shed, struggled in his game recognition, struggled a little bit in his coverage. He was fast, but never the best cover guy. And he's going to McDonald defense. And they want kind of the same thing. They need a blitzing linebacker. He's coming off a major injury. He's had a pretty productive season so far, similar to Brooks. I think it's 5 stops for Brooks, 4 for Jerome Baker. Coverage depth is about 8.9 with 1 or 2 catches. Brooks is 13 with 1 or 2 catches. But Brooks has been given much more responsibility. I think that Baker's best asset, the blitzing part, really hasn't come in to view. He's still struggling with things. I think he's got a hamstring now. Clearly, though, I think, and I gotta say to Alf, Alf from 3 yards per carry is a great guy, and he really likes Brooks a lot, and I agree with him. I think he's a strong upgrade because Brooks has flaws in his game, but I think it's a huge upgrade because of the coverage responsibilities, the ability to, he's faster and bigger than Baker. Now on a downside, we're running a lot of one gap, which means the D lineman is shooting and it's letting some of these guys into the blockers into the second level. And he struggles with attack, stack, and shed getting off. That's the only thing I would not put a knock on, but I think clearly he's an upgrade because for me, Baker is very pigeonholed. He's a very specific style player. And Brooks, I think, transcends. He can play most style. I think he's better at 2-gap with guys in front of him kind of holding the blockers from getting to him, and then he can use his speed and intelligence to shoot. That's only flaw, but I think he can play multiple styles. He can offer you multiple roles. He can offer you way more assets. I just think he's a better player. So I think we clearly won on that one. Now, I see people saying that we won big time with Brewer over Connor. To me, that's crazy. I mean, I don't want to, I might be crazy, so I'm not trying to knock anybody, but from my standpoint, that's totally crazy. Now, Brewer, he can get to the second level and move and do all these like fancy little move things much better than Connor, although Connor's not bad at it. But if you watch Brewer, and I'll use the film on Friday night, he struggles huge with power. And my eval, I'm not saying it's the best eval, but it's all about offensive linemen being able to handle power. If not, they're a liability. And he was a liability in many areas, and he'll be further exposed as the season goes on, in my opinion. I think he's a lower-end center. He fits what we want to do in an incredible way, but it's not sort of what it's billed for. And what we're doing is so one-dimensional that it's just not going to be portable. And so I don't think Brewer is an upgrade over Connor. Connor's playing injured. Connor, if you look at his history of true pass set blocking, I'm going to cover that true pass set blocking in a second. It's about 97, where his is 94. He has struggles one-on-one if the guy is any size. He gets blown up a lot. He's not terrible. I think he's better than Eichenberg. But the run blocking, Connor could do it all. I mean, he's not going to get to the second level as quickly as Brewer. But if you watch Brewer's tape, he gets there and sometimes he misses. And when he gets there, he really can't always move the guys, especially in zone stretch and inside zone. So he's very limiting, and he hurts us because he pigeonholes us further into this limited menu. Now the caveat is if you could flank him with two big power managing guards, then things could change. But currently what we have for the season, we have bad mismatches. And Connor is going to be, as long as Connor's healthy, he's going to be way better center. And he's playing for $4 million this year. So I think without a doubt, Connor is clearly an upgrade. Clearly Connor would have been a guy that you could have had for a very long time and set the foundation for your offense at a reasonable deal. We should have signed him long term. There was obviously some animosity because he's playing week one, and I think there was definitely some animosity. He didn't want to play here. I think he was bitter, or we were just totally mismanaged our evaluation of his injury. So I think that's a loss for us, but we'll see. All right, I'm going to get into this image here that's floating around. You can see Miami Dolphins over here, and it looks like, they have a better run blocking, pretty good run blocking, one of the best in the league, and their pass blocking isn't as terrible as we think, okay? But there's a lot to get involved in. So I'm not going to really cover the run game so much, but to say that it's limited, we can't inside zone block without all this gap movement. When it comes down to mano-a-mano in the trenches to move guys, we can't, and that's further limiting. But I can't really prove that one very, very quickly. But from the pass blocking side, you can see right here the difference between Buffalo and Miami in their true pass set blocking. I'll explain what true pass set is compared to the overall PFF grade, and you'll see that it's very clear. So you can see the green box is the pass blocking grades. And so you're seeing Liam Eichenberg. Last week he had a 34. This week was a 26. I'm not sorry, Eichenberg. Teron Armstead, 4 of them, 7.5. I'm very concerned with him. He got beat by Allen pretty bad last week, and that's not normally Teron. I'm very, very concerned about his play and his ability to be available for the season. And then you can see Austin Jackson. I'm not sorry, Austin Jackson. He had a chance to carry. You don't like the grade, but he gave up 4 pressures. And then if you go over to the red box, you can see the efficiency. 82 for Jackson, 87 for Teron, 96.4 for Liam. None of these are quality grades, okay? Now, it's an efficiency rating based on the pressures. And if you go above, you'll see that the Bills are at all 95. And you can say, well, if you're saying they're good, then how is Liam a 96.4 good? Well, the problem is that you have to understand the job difference. So if you look at, let's say, Tua last week, he had 13 play actions, 5 play actions and 8 screens, total of 13 pass run mitigation calls out of his 29 dropbacks, and that helps add to the protection job. And so that's why you only got a certain amount. You got 14 true pass set grades. So true pass set grades is you're not getting help from the scheme. You're not getting help from doubles and rollouts. It's you one-on-one. So there's 14 plays there. But if you look at Tua's clean throw percentage is 75.9 at 1.87 time to throw. And that was 22 passes. So there's only 7 passes that were higher than 1.87 seconds. What kind of job is that? It's the easiest job there is. And if you look at the Bills, there was 2.14, 10 of the 20, and they only relied on 7 play action, 3 play actions and 4 screens pass mitigation, but they were blitzed 35 times, 35%, compared to Dolphins with Tua at least blitzed only 3 times. So when you blitz, it makes it more difficult for the lineman. It forces more guys. So if you have 5 guys blocking, it's one's a double and the rest are one-on-one. But if you blitz, that means everybody is one-on-one. And it makes a true pass set value higher because the difficulty is being raised. And so to think of it this way, and I said in the last podcast, there's a spectrum all the way to the awesome side. A perfect day for an OC and quarterback is 5 guys blocking all day, handling their blitz, throwing to 5 guys in coverage in routes to stress the secondary. On the other side is all max protect, play actions and screens with 1 guy in route all day. And that's the worst because now you've got 1 guy in routes against 7. So the more they blitz, the more difficult it is for the offensive line. But you do want that at times, and you hope to pick it up because then you have a thinner secondary to which you can hit. Dolphins are not seeing it. They're seeing constantly their 5+ verse 4, where the Bills' offensive line saw a substantial amount of difficult. And even if you look at the fronts that we brought were all across the line of scrimmage, and it makes it more difficult to call out who the mic is and who's blitzing. It really creates confusion where the Bills, they put 4 guys on the line, drop their linebackers and safety, maybe if it's in a box, all the way at 5 yards. You're not really worried. It's much easier to call out your protections. So I said it before, if you have 2 kids in high school, 12th graders, one takes an addition test and the other one takes a calc test, and they both score the same grade, did they really score the same grade? Is the context there? Do they have the same difficulty of job? You know, the guy who passed the calc test, they are ready for 12th grade and they can handle the heavy load. But the guy who passed the addition test, he had a much easier assignment, and you really don't know, and you can't determine it. And the job they had was easier. So you have to evaluate those 2 students differently. So if you look at some other stuff that I have here as far as information, so here's a real quick summation. OC, he calls screens, play actions, quick throws, and adds more blockers to mitigate pass rush if he does not feel his blockers can handle it. It's all about protection. So you can see very succinctly, clean time throw, 1.87, 76%, Bills 214, 50%. Blitzed out of 9 throws, 3 times, 10%. Out of 20 passes, 7 of them were blitzes, 35%. 45% pass mitigation call, pass rush mitigation calls for the Miami, only 35 for the Bills. The job was much more difficult for the Bills. And the Dolphins had the easiest job. And so whatever you see them as, and remember, the overall pass grade just puts it all together. So if you call a lot of help to the offensive line and screens and play actions and quick throws, that boosts the value, the easy job. It stuffs the evaluation with a bunch of easy assignments, a lot of addition tests. But true pass set grade doesn't consider less than 2-second throws because nobody is getting there. It doesn't take into account rollouts and play actions and all this other stuff. It's just what happens when it's you one-on-one. So the Dolphins had the 31st true pass set grade, but their overall pass grade by PFF was 13. You choose what you want to take to evaluate this unit. Me, it's pretty clear, but that's for you. So Jaelen Phillips I have worked really, really hard not to attach my self-worth and confidence to how I perform on the field. When I have a poor or even just subpar performance, I feel like I'm worthless, like I let my team and fans down, and often my confidence can waver. Self-hatred and doubt can feel so heavy in those moments. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever pull myself out of it. It takes a concerted effort to change my way of thinking in those moments and see failure adversity as a learning experience instead of the end of the world. I pick my head up, fall back on routine and discipline, which are the only things that matter. It's about the process, not the results. So much easier to spiral and self-deprecate, but nothing good is ever easy. Keep chopping wood. Things will be better. You can do it. Believe in yourself and trust in God. And, some people are saying, well, he's weak-minded and You have to understand, just like I told you with the spectrum, 5 wide receivers in a route and 5 blockers and, only one guy in a route, the spectrum. So you have a psychopath who feels nothing, literally they don't feel anything. And then you have on the other side, you have someone who's ultimately conscientious, that they're paralyzed because everything seems to matter to them, especially other people and how they're viewed and how they view themselves within that. And it's in the middle where you really have to be. Some of the best surgeons in the world are psychopaths because they don't care about the guy on the table. So they just do their job without emotions. Where if you're very conscientious, you're operating on your wife or your child, you tend to make a mistake because you're emotionally invested and you're so worried about the outcome. But the thing that makes Jaelen Phillips so likable is that he's a good person. The guy should be a narcissist and a psychopath. At 6'6", a Greek-look god with all the talent in the world, a millionaire, but he's constantly living in this humble way. And so you have to know that this guy is going to give his all, but we've kind of put him in a situation that's not great for him, is psychology, because he's not 100%. You saw week 1, it was kind of like, oh, okay, like everyone's screaming about the sack, but it didn't look right. And then this week, they decided to attack him. And it went against a better tackle. And you could see he's not ready. And then he doesn't view himself as a guy who's coming off a major injury, Achilles injury. And look at Von, a whole year gone, Von Miller. And so this guy is a good guy. I wished he wasn't such a good guy. Unfortunately, sometimes the bastards are better at business and sports because they just don't care about other people, and you can get analysis by paralysis. I understand. Every time I put one of these videos up, it's really hit home to me, and I used to be a bastard, and then long story short, I really analyzed existence, and I realized that my value is less than other people's, in a sense where you've got to consider other people. You've got to be more conscientious. Can't go through life thinking about yourself. I was a walk-on in college, and that taught me a lot. And so every time I put one of these things up, I'm always constant like, they're going to hate it. It's all over. And it messes me up because I don't get the production done I want. And my head burns thinking about like, oh, you made that mistake. You didn't say that right. But I want to thank Jaelen because what he said kind of helped me realize that I've gone too much to the one side and I need to relax and just do your thing. You do your best. I tell my kids that all the time. Do your best. Be fair to evaluate your situation within context. I always believe in context. So I hope Jaelen Phillips does that. I think the Dolphins kind of put him in a tough situation. And this is who he is. Good guy, conscientious, just an unbelievable, humble person. But he's just got to understand that he's coming off a major injury, and we've got to support him through that. He was asked to come in early. He should have came in by week 5 or 6. I thought that would have been better for his overall production and maybe a psychological situation. So anyway, guys, that's the whole deal. I'll get more content out to you and better content as the days and weeks go on. Friday night, check me out the live. I'm going to be doing all this stuff. The Dolphins are in a huge situation. I do think there's going to be a hopium push if they don't succeed. And I think you have to just evaluate fair. There's opportunities over the next few weeks, but we've got to take advantage of them. If we come out of this with only one win, the season's pretty much over. You got to understand that. But why is it over? What's the major problems? You've got to be focused on the true evaluation, or you will be hoodwinked and you won't draw attention to what needs to be fixed. So honest evaluations, true evaluations, no one's got all the answers. Listen to people on both sides, and let's hope we get the win, a bunch of wins, and then Tua can come back and get back on track. It's not going to be easy. Let's be realistic, but it's possible. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. Curtis, and catch you next time. Be well. Go Fins. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.